Qatar Airways is one of the best airlines in the world, at least according to their own marketing. They don't want to be average, and they claim to be world-class across their fleet and network. So, are they? Well, let's take a flight on their Airbus A320 and find out. Good afternoon guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we are flying Qatar Airways in economy from Muscat, Oman to Doha, Qatar on their Airbus A320. And yeah, Qatar Airways markets itself as being one of the best, if not the best airline in the world. And yeah, I have flown Qatar Airways in the past, but I haven't traveled on them since 2019. And as you might know, a lot has happened since then. Not just the COVID pandemic, but also Qatar Airways had a major dispute with Airbus, which led to the delay of many deliveries for Qatar Airways. And yeah, in 2019, when I flew them, they were undoubtedly one of the best airlines, if not the best in the world. But a lot of people say that they have been in decline since then and that they just aren't that great anymore. So is that true? Well, let's head to the airport and find out. Good afternoon and welcome to Muscat, Oman. Today we are taking QR 1123, departing Muscat at 5:35 p.m. and arriving in Doha, Qatar at 6:05. Flight time will be 1 hour and 30 minutes. Muscat International Airport, or MCT, is located around 20 minutes from the city center, and a cab ride will set you back about $15 if you use the local app O-Taxi. And here we are, MCT Airport. The airport itself opened in 1973, but the new Terminal 1 only became operational in 2018. It replaced the old Terminal 2, which isn't used for passenger traffic at the moment, but might be redeveloped in the future. So what's the new terminal like? In one word, fantastic. I believe that this airport is seriously underrated, and I'll explain why later. First, let's get to the departure area. I had checked in online without any bags to drop. With my digital boarding pass, I was through security and immigration in about 10 minutes. Great efficiency there. We are now at the beautiful gate area of MCT Airport, which is as good as it gets. You have everything you need and more. The design is similar to the new Abu Dhabi Terminal A in the sense that you have one main concourse in the middle with several gate areas stretching out like arms. MCT is quite a bit smaller than Abu Dhabi though, and this compactness makes it very pleasant and a lot less crowded. In a nutshell, this airport is very well designed, with excellent facilities, relatively short walks, and comfortable waiting areas. The Wi-Fi was also good. As such, I believe that MCT is quite underrated because it is never mentioned in the same breath as Doha, Singapore, or Abu Dhabi. This might be due to its smaller size. Muscat only has 16 million passengers per year and a lot less international transit than the other major airports in the Middle East. In short, not that many people fly through here, and the airport simply isn't that well known among casual flyers. But yeah, I think that MCT deserves a lot more praise. Let me know if you guys agree. I ended up buying a delicious and healthy pasta salad at the food court before heading to the A gates, which is where my flight departs from. It is now time to talk about Qatar, an airline that used to have a flawless reputation. It was founded in 1993 and expanded rapidly throughout the 90s, 2000s and 2010s. Qatar was known as a world-class airline with state-of-the-art products in all classes, great food and top-notch service. Now, I said that Qatar used to have a great reputation, and that obviously raises the question, aren't they still great? Well, in the last 2 years or so, there have been quite a few issues, including a wave of negative reviews, internal criticism, a management overhaul, and other not so great headlines. And then there was the Airbus dispute. In short, Qatar Airways grounded their A350s over alleged paint quality issues. Airbus then suspended a massive A321 order, which left Qatar with a shortage of planes. The airline then had to use older aircraft, which obviously weren't as good and up to date as passengers expected. Luckily, the dispute was settled in 2023 and the A350s are flying again. Nevertheless, for the first time in its history, the reputation of Qatar Airways started to crumble. Now, if this was a normal airline, most of these issues would have been defined as minor glitches. However, if you market yourself as being the best airline in the world, people will have very high expectations. And in the last few years, those expectations, well, they just weren't really met. To conclude this point, Qatar was never a bad airline, but they simply weren't as good as they claimed to be. So what is the situation like right now? Well, let's get on board and find out. My plane today is a 13-year-old Airbus A320-200. QR has 29 of those, and most of them will be retired in the next 2 years. So yeah, this is not exactly their newest or fanciest product. But again, if this is the best airline in the world, it shouldn't matter. The quality should be good across the fleet, and the short-haul economy cabin should also be competitive. Boarding was done by zones in a quick and efficient manner. This A320 has 12 seats in business class and 132 in economy. I am sitting in 18 Alpha today, a window seat in the middle of the plane. The legroom is good, but there is an old IFE box which does restrict your space a bit. There is a standard tray table, a seat back pocket, and a personal screen with a USB port and 2 power outlets per 3-seat row. What I love the most about this older cabin is the headrest. It is super comfortable and the recline is also decent. Pillows and blankets were not available, but you wouldn't really expect those on a 1.5-hour flight. So yeah, this cabin is undoubtedly a bit dated, but it was in immaculate condition and spotlessly clean. We'll find out later whether the old IFE is still competitive in 2024. First, let's get ready for an on-time departure. Right after reaching cruising altitude, the service sprang into action. So what do you get on a short QR flight in economy? The answer is something very delicious. The meal service consisted of this set of Arabic meze, warm pita bread and orange juice. The quality was outstanding. I also love the fact that they focus on quality instead of serving a larger meal with worse ingredients. This box is actually designed to speed up the service, which is a very clever idea. The one tiny complaint that I have is that everything is plastic. Turkish uses metal cutlery and even British and American use cardboard. So yeah, a world-class airline should not use this much plastic. And finally, I do want to mention that on short Qatar Airways flights, you only get water or juice. You might think that this is because of time constraints, but on this particular flight, they would have had time to do a full beverage service. A bit nitpicky, I know, but I think it's a reasonable expectation on an airline that wants to be the best. Anyways, let's have a look at the in-flight entertainment system. Now, these old touchscreens are slow and a bit flimsy sometimes, but the Oryx One system itself is very impressive. It offers about 500 movies, 1400 TV show episodes, 1000 music albums, and 50 games. That is pretty competitive. There are also standard moving maps. My favorite part of this IFE, however, is the fact that they have 6 James Bond movies. Unsurprisingly, I had to watch the original, Dr. No.
Mr.
Bond. James Bond.
Mr. Bond, I suppose you wouldn't care to, raise the limit?
I have no objection.
The loo was clean, and even in economy on an A320, Qatar provides high-end soap and cologne. The rest of the flight flew by and we were soon in Qatari airspace, approaching Doha during a magnificent sunset. We landed at 5:58 p.m, 7 minutes ahead of schedule. So how much did this journey cost? Well, it's here where reviewing Qatar Airways becomes a bit complicated. I bought this as an award flight through the Qatar Privilege program. I paid 8,100 avios and 69 euros in taxes and fees. That fare included checked luggage and seat reservation. And yes, that is a great deal. However, the cash price of this journey would have been over 300 euros, which I find quite punchy for a 1.5 hour flight. Yes, the flight itself was great and the food was high quality. But is it worth over 300 euros? Probably not. I recently reviewed Etihad and they only charged about 50 euros for a very similar route. Yes, Qatar is arguably a bit better than Etihad, but are they 6 times better? I doubt it. As such, this flight gets an 8.5 out of 10. If you can somehow snatch a good deal or pay with miles, go for it. But if you have to pay the full cash price, I would try to find a cheaper alternative. Now let's get back to the original question. Is Qatar Airways really in decline? Well, I don't think so. They are still a very good airline, and for me it is always a pleasure to fly on them. Are they the best airline in the world, as they claim? Well, that is up for debate. They certainly have strong competition in the Middle East and in Asia, but for the most part they are quite far ahead when you compare them to European and North American carriers. And that is it for today. Let me know your opinion on Qatar Airways. Are they still great, or do you think that they are indeed in decline? As always, thanks very much for watching and see you again next time. Goodbye.